like, many other people, I'm watching what's going on in the United States, but I don't think it's right for British politicians to give a running commentary on a legal process in the United States. I think we have to leave it to them and see where this
You can talk about the theatre,
out.
can't you? I mean, the fact that, he wasn't handcuffed, why not? He wasn't mugshotted, why not? He was getting preferential treatment.
Well, these are matters for the judge who is in charge of his court. It's a different legal system. I can't claim I fully understand it. I know there are similarities to ours, but, I think I need to resist the great temptation to provide a running commentary on what's happening with Donald Trump, his latest circus.
You're an absolute spoil sport. How do you think your boss would get on with him?
Well, Keir Starmer will get on with whoever is elected President of the United States because it's important that the special relationship that exists between the UK and the USA continues whoever is in power. We have to respect the outcome of a democratic system, whether we personally like it or not. So the right thing to do is to work with whoever the United States elects as President.
OK, new polling out from Ipsos saying that Sir Keir is neck and neck in popularity with Rishi Sunak. He should be miles ahead, shouldn't he?
Well, a poll's a poll. I've been up and down the country this week.
I've
been
in
Swindon.
In your favour, though.
Sorry?
You like them when they're in your favour?
Well, of course you do. If you're looking at the polls at the moment, Labour's had a very consistent lead for a very long time over the Conservatives, but we're not going to be complacent about that. We're not going to, the polls don't actually matter. The only one that matters is where people get out in a general election and they mark their crosses on a ballot paper, and that is what we're working for. There are elections this May, on the 4th of May as well, where people will be electing councils up and down the country. They'll take their decisions and we'll see what they have to say. But, when I'm speaking to voters, I was in Plymouth yesterday, Swindon the day before, they've had enough of clowns and charlatans in number 10 Downing Street. And I think Keir Starmer comes across as a very measured, sensible man who is talking about the things that matter most to British people, the economy, the National Health Service and crime.
Yeah, the CEO of this polling company, a very reputable one, Ipsos, says if Sir Keir wins the election, it's likely he'll be the least popular opposition leader to win a majority in recent history. He's on -20 for satisfaction. That must worry you a little bit.
I don't look at all the polls. I know that when I'm speaking to voters, they think Keir Starmer would make a very credible, very sensible leader for this country, and they want a Prime Minister who will deal with the problems they're actually facing in the here and now. We've got 7 million people wait on the NHS waiting lists under Rishi Sunak. Crime is running out of control in many parts of the country. People are looking for a Prime Minister that will deal with the things that matter to them, and that is what Keir Starmer will offer as we move towards the next general election.
The problem, it appears, Shadow Secretary of State, is that people don't know what Labour stands for. You're not getting your message across.
Well, part of what I've been doing this week in travelling up and down the country and in recent weeks is talking to people about one thing that does matter to them a lot, and that's antisocial behaviour. And if you live in an area that has got an awful lot of dump rubbish or gangs of young people committing nuisance and harassing local businesses, it really infuriates people that nothing is being done about, that there are no consequences. So one of the things Labour's been talking about is how we can put more police back on the streets and rebuild neighbourhood policing. I'm sure you've spoken to my colleague Yvette Cooper, who would be the Home Secretary in a Labour government. And I've been talking about what we would do to tackle dumped rubbish and fly tipping, which, if you live in an area that's got a lot of it, is really bothering you. So Labour's proposing to bring in clean-up squads where those who are found to be dumping rubbish will clear up that rubbish. Those who make the mess will clear up the mess. And the British people consider that to be a fair thing to do. So whereas now people get away with no consequences, with a Labour government, they will be pleased to arrest you and you will pay the price for what you've done wrong.
What is the one thing that you are going to be campaigning on? Obviously, we remember education, education, education and other slogans. What's the one thing you're going to campaign?
Well, let's wait until we get to the election before we write the manifesto. Well, and you will do, because when we get to that election, there will be a manifesto and it will be talking about the things that matter most to the British people.
But political parties never stick to their manifestos, do they?
Oh, actually, I think it's very important that politicians do try and stick to their pledges that they're making. Well, I think you have to do what the last Labour government...
More than try,
the last Labour government, for instance, grew the economy 50% more every single year than the current Conservative government has done.
Is it going to be the economy? Is it going to be the NHS? Is it going to be education? What is it going to be?
Well, I think the economy is always a top issue when it comes to an election. And many of the problems we're facing in this country right now, cost of living crisis, is because the government's lost control of the economy. They've failed to grow the economy. We've had the worst decade for wage growth since the Great Depression in the 1930s. Now we've got runaway inflation. People are feeling worse off than ever before.
Yeah, but you know what's going to happen.
Growing the economy is how you tackle those problems.
The Chancellor's going to lob money at people in the budget, and then they're going to call an election. And when it comes to it, people think, oh, I've just got a load of money from the government, maybe I'll put my ex there.
The Conservatives do like to play people for fools, but people remember what happened last October when we had that disastrous mini-budget from Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng that caused a run on the pound. It caused an increase in price rises.
6 weeks.
People are still paying a mortgage premium. You know, if your mortgage has come to an end and you're having to remortgage now, you're paying on average £2,000 more than you would have been doing before the mini-budget because of what they did. It's still there and people remember it.
Talk to me about TikTok.
What do you want to know about TikTok?
I'll tell you what I want to know. Are you on TikTok?
I'm not, no.
No, me neither. I don't understand why people are. Should it be banned?
I think, you know, with all of these platforms, it's a matter of regulating them properly so that they're safe for people to use. And one of the things that I caught on the news yesterday is TikTok are failing to stop young people going on there and accessing content.
30 million quid, yeah.
They shouldn't, well, and rightly so. So I think what you need is proper regulation and then penalties for where they fail. But, I mean, many parents will be very worried about what children, particularly young children, can access online because many parents, you know, you and I just said we're not on TikTok. Adults don't all understand these platforms, but the kids are on there. Unsupervised spaces where people who intend harm to children can go and access them. It's very important. There's strong, robust regulation to keep kids safe.
And that's something that you would look at if you were in government?
I think it's essential. If kids are at risk, then, of course, government must make sure we keep those safe spaces safe.